This is why most people never get rich. Most people spend their entire lives chasing wealth, yet run in circles around it. They wake up every day believing they're moving forward, but deep down, they're only repeating yesterday. They confuse activity with progress. And they never stop long enough to ask the question that separates the rich from the poor, the free from the enslaved. Who am I becoming? That question, uncomfortable, raw, and revealing, is the seed of every fortune ever built. Because wealth is not a matter of money. It's a reflection of mind. Money follows consciousness. It follows belief, discipline, and vision. But here's the truth. Most people will never see wealth because they were never taught to think like creators. They were trained to think like consumers. They were told to chase security instead of freedom, comfort instead of courage, and approval instead of purpose. So, they live their entire lives as prisoners of their own limitations, quietly envying those who dared to break free. If you look closely, you'll notice something. Every great fortune began with a single, dangerous thought. I refuse to live like this. That's how Edison changed the world in a dark room lit only by his belief. That's how Henry Ford built an empire when experts laughed and said horseless carriages would never replace the horse. That's how Andrew Carnegie turned poverty into steel and steel into a legacy. They all started with that one rebellion, the refusal to accept the ordinary. And yet, most people never reach that breaking point. They tolerate mediocrity. They make peace with struggle. They call it just life. And in doing so, they bury the very power that could have set them free. They don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they've been conditioned to think small, to believe that success is reserved for the lucky few, to settle for wages when they could have built empires, to ask, how much does it pay? Instead of what can I become? Let's be clear, wealth does not respond to wishing. It responds to clarity, discipline, and direction. It responds to those who demand from life what they know they deserve, and then back that demand with relentless effort, unwavering faith, and the courage to persist long after the excitement fades. The poor chase opportunity. The rich create it. The poor work for money. The rich make money work for them. The poor ask for permission. The rich give themselves the right to build their own destiny. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. Awareness of a universal law that Napoleon Hill uncovered nearly a century ago. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But there's a hidden truth in that sentence most people miss. It's not enough to conceive. You must believe. And belief is not words, it's proof. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's how you show up when you have every reason to quit. It's the discipline to act in faith before the results appear. That's why most people never get rich. They never stay long enough in the furnace of faith to be forged into gold. They keep stepping out just before the breakthrough. They quit right when life is about to reveal the reward. They don't fail because life is unfair. They fail because they lack endurance. Because they confuse obstacles with endings, when in truth, every obstacle is a test. A question from the universe asking, do you truly want what you say you want? Edison failed 10,000 times before the light bulb. Imagine if he stopped at 9,999. Ford went bankrupt 5 times before his first success. Imagine if he believed the critics. Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Imagine if he listened to those who couldn't see beyond their own fear. You see, wealth isn't just a reward, it's an evolution. The man who becomes rich isn't the same man who started poor. He's burned through the layers of self-doubt, fear, laziness, and excuses. He's killed his own weakness through daily discipline. He's earned his abundance by becoming the kind of person who can handle it. So, when you see a millionaire, don't envy them. Study them. Ask what mindset, what sacrifice, what belief system they traded for that level of life. Because wealth is never luck. It's cause and effect. And the cause always begins within. That's why Hill called it think and grow rich. Not work and grow rich. Not wish and grow rich. Think. Because thinking, real thinking, is the rarest discipline on earth. Most people don't think. They react. They scroll. They repeat. They conform. But those who dare to think, who take the time to build a clear image of what they want and back it with definite purpose, become architects of their own reality. Those who dare to think are dangerous, not because they threaten others, but because they awaken the power within themselves. They stop asking for permission to live. They stop waiting for the perfect moment. They realize that the moment they decide, truly decide, the universe begins to rearrange itself around that decision. That's the power of a definite purpose. A man or woman with a clear vision becomes magnetic. They attract ideas, people, and opportunities in ways that seem supernatural. But there's nothing mystical about it. It's focus. It's energy moving in one direction with total conviction. Andrew Carnegie called it the master key. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose. Today, we might call it clarity. Whatever you name it, it's the same law that governs every success story in history. Without clarity, your mind is scattered. Your energy leaks. Your days blur together in meaningless motion. And you wake up 10 years later wondering where the time went. Most people never get rich because they never get clear. They want a better life, but they can't define it. They say they want success, but they don't know what that looks like for them. They want freedom, but they've never decided what they're willing to sacrifice for it. You can't hit a target you can't see. And yet, millions spend their lives shooting arrows in the dark. They try one business, then another. They chase every shiny thing. They start a goal on Monday and abandon it by Friday. And every time they quit, they train their mind to expect failure. Wealth is built on the opposite habit: persistence. Persistence is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about refusing to stop. It's about staying in motion when others freeze. It's about holding the vision even when the evidence hasn't arrived. Every man who built an empire started as someone nobody believed in. Edison wasn't the smartest scientist. Ford wasn't the best mechanic. Disney wasn't the richest dreamer. But they all had one thing most people lack: an obsession with their vision. They saw it when no one else could. They felt it in their bones when everyone told them to quit. And that's another reason most people never get rich. They listen to the wrong voices. The voices of family and friends who mean well but have already given up on their own potential. They listen to the small minds that say, "Be realistic." And they forget that everything extraordinary once looked unrealistic. The airplane was unrealistic. The light bulb was unrealistic. The idea of talking to someone across the world through a screen was unrealistic. But every invention, every breakthrough, every fortune was born from someone who ignored reality long enough to create a new one. You must protect your mind like it's your greatest treasure, because it is. Guard it from negativity, from doubt, from small thinkers who can only see limits. The moment you start thinking on a higher frequency, you'll attract higher results. Because success doesn't come to the most talented, it comes to the most tuned in. You are not poor because of circumstance. You are poor because of conditioning. You were taught to trade time for money instead of ideas for value. You were told to get a job instead of build a vision. You were raised to obey, not to create. But the wealth you seek is not outside you. It's inside you, waiting for you to unlearn the lies that have kept you small. That's the war most people never fight, the war within. The battle between potential and fear, between who they are and who they could be. They think the enemy is the economy, the government, the market, but the real enemy is their own comfort. Because comfort kills ambition. It whispers, "You're fine." It says, "Don't risk it." It tells you, "Maybe later." And before you know it, later becomes never.